What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Here we are with another reaction. In this, we have 10 U.S. states that were named after British people and places. We got 10 of them named after British. We finna find out exactly which states these are. But before we do, if you guys happen to enjoy, please don't forget to smash that subscribe button, give the video a thumbs up, and if you'd like to support this channel by becoming a member, all you gotta do is hit that join button to receive your exclusive benefits. Let's get right to it.
Hello, last month I told you about 6 American cities that completely outgrew their British originals. But what if I told you it wasn't just America's urban areas that retained their British name, and that 10 US states did the same thing? And I should know because I've been to 7 of them. That is not a humble brag, it's a brag. See, back in the 1600s, Britain was busy colonising various coastal areas around the world. And because creativity wasn't our thing, we decided, you know what, we're just going to name all of our colonies after places and people from back home. That's why the United States ended up with states that sound like they belong in a Shakespearean soliloquy. Some are obvious, while others have a British origin story that you didn't even know about. Here are 10 US states that are surprisingly British.
Delaware.
If you know anything about Delaware, it's probably one of 3 things. It was the first state to ratify the Constitution. It has really friendly corporate tax laws, and you've never met anyone from there. But what you might not know is that the name Delaware comes from this bloke called Thomas West, who in England was 3rd Baron Delaware, which, let's be honest, sounds like the name of a Downton Abbey character who's about to faint from scandal. But the earldom, pronounced the same way as the US state, still exists in Britain in the form of this man. But 400 years earlier, Delaware was a British nobleman, an early colonial governor of Virginia, and the inspiration for Delaware's name. Ironic, really, because the guy never actually set foot in Delaware, and even I've done that, mate. Now, people from Delaware...
Why? How you gonna have a state named after you but never actually step into the state yourself? So was Delaware a state while he was alive? And how did Delaware get named after this British lord?
If they even exist, might point out a caveat with this one. Delaware River and Delaware Bay are what actually took their names from Lord Delaware, and the state in turn took its name from them. But internet listicles like this thrive on technicalities, which is how I was able to get away with this.
Maryland.
Yep, Maryland, or as we say in Britain, Maryland, the state that gave us Old Bay seasoning, the Chesapeake Bay, and wait, is that actually their state flag? What is happening there? It was also named after a woman called Henrietta Maria of France, to which Uncle Toby is currently typing,
I can't wait to hear your explanation for this.
My explanation is simple, because while she might have been as French as an outdoor cafe, Henrietta was also married to Charles I of England, Scotland, and Ireland. This meant that when Maryland was established in 1632, Henrietta Maria was Queen of the British Isles. Like all British monarchs before 1939, she never visited what is today the US, much less Maryland. But Maryland isn't just historically British, it still holds on to some of its British roots today. Just look at Annapolis, itself named after Queen Anne, the monarch, not the chocolate-covered cherries. With its colonial-style buildings and nearby Renaissance Festival, it's about as close to an old English town as you can get in America. And yes, I did win a medal for axe throwing. What have you done? And speaking of accessing British things in America...
That's crazy. Maryland. So it was, I guess, originally like Maryland, named after her. Because why would you, if you got the power to have something named after you, why would you not? I would. I'd name so much stuff after me if I had the power to do so. But let's keep it going. So Delaware, Maryland. Never been to either one of those.
Sometimes I just want to kick back and watch Match of the Day without random edits or excessive ad breaks. So how does a Brit like me access UK TV from across the pond? Well, I've been using NordVPN. NordVPN is a virtual private network that, among other things, allows me to stream my favourite British shows as if standard, plus, and complete. And I'll be honest, you're not going to find a deal as good as this one except through content creators like me, which is proof that I'm really important. But also that you should jump on this deal right now. Remember, head to nordvpn.com/pond to get your exclusive offer. The link is in my description below.
Georgia.
These days, Georgia
is the state that I have moved to about a year and a half ago. Around that time. I moved to the state of Georgia.
Is known for peaches, Coca-Cola, and shutting down at the sight of 2 inches of snow.
Facts.
But originally, Georgia was...
Facts, and more facts. It snowed a couple of times this winter, and the school just even just the forecast of snow immediately shut down. Immediately. Which, I mean, I come from Texas, so things, to be honest, aren't much different there.
Was named after a British monarch who was also German. Back in 1732, Georgia was initially founded as a debtors' colony, a place where people who owed too much money could start fresh, a sort of giant credit repair service. But after this plan never got off the ground, the colony fell under the purview of the man who inspired its name, King George II of Britain. Without ever visiting, he would rule over the Georgia colony until 1760, which is when his body stopped working. Thanks to the Boston Tea Party and the musical Hamilton, most Americans are more familiar with his grandson, King George III.
Yes.
But despite America's overall ridicule of G3, his wife, Charlotte of Mecklenburg-Strelitz, still has her branding all over an entire county. It wasn't just Carolinian subregions that got the royal treatment.
The Carolinas. Dang, yeah, Hamilton. Absolutely freaking love Hamilton. And feel like I learned a decent amount while watching Hamilton. So it's a win-win. But Georgia was named after King George II, not King George III, even though King George II never even stepped foot in Georgia. A lot of these people that these states and stuff are named after have never even been to the states, which is absolutely crazy.
That's right, the Carolinas were themselves named after a British monarch. Remember earlier when I said this? Henrietta was also married to Charles I of England, Scotland, and Ireland. The Carolinas were established as one colony in a charter issued by King Charles's son, Charles II, who's seen here cosplaying as Cher. The land was granted to 8 English noblemen as a reward for helping Charles II assume the English throne, but with one caveat, that they name it Carolina after his father, whose name, Charles, comes from the Latin name Carolus. Actually, the Charleses have their 17th century fingerprints all over the Carolinas. Charleston literally means Charlestown, after being named after C-3PO, C2, Charles II. Ironically, of the 3 of them, only C-3PO has ever visited, but to be fair to the other 2, they didn't have Comic-Con back then, which is pretty sad when you look at their costumes.
Hey, we throwing shots out here. They didn't deserve them straight shots, but I mean the costume wasn't. I mean he is right. He didn't lie. The costume was. Yeah.
New Hampshire, the state that gives us live free or die license plates, aggressive maple syrup enthusiasm, and that 1 month a year when the leaves turn into an Instagram trend. But long before it became a magnet for leaf peepers and libertarians, New Hampshire was named after the county of Hampshire in England. The original Hampshire, which is located on England's southern coast, is best known for historic naval bases, countryside villages, and Stone Cold Jane Austen. No. And back in
Stone Cold Jane Austen is crazy.
1629, a group of English settlers led by Captain John Mason decided to name their new colony in honour of the English county. Unfortunately for Mason, he died before he ever set foot in New Hampshire, and I'm beginning to see why we lost. But despite being an American state for centuries, New Hampshire still has some very British traits. For instance, the state, which I drove through once, has a love of dry humour, an appreciation for understatement, and a general disdain for being told what to do, so very British. New Jersey, land of diners, casinos, and people called Evan. But before
it was all these states, like kind of along that coast, it kind of seems like very close to the. I guess that would be the West Coast. No, that would be the East Coast. I feel absolutely stupid. All these states alongside the East Coast of the United States. Okay. And that's where most of it seems British, the states named after British people or places are.
The Garden State, New Jersey, was named after the Channel Island of Jersey, a British crown dependency off the coast of France. Jersey, the island, is known for its dairy cows, medieval castles, and being technically British but also kind of French, much like New Jersey if you swap French for Italian delis. The name came about in 1664 when the land was granted to another obviously posh bloke called Sir George Carteret. Carteret, I don't know if the T's silent. You see, George himself was governor of the island and seemed to want to own land that reminded him of the fabric. When it came time to appointing the first governor of New Jersey, Carteret believed only one man could earn the position on merit, his cousin Philip. Notable among Philip's achievements was that he was born in one Jersey and died in the other, which proves that I know how to read Wikipedia summaries.
There you go. New York, yeah. Yorktown, New York. I got it. I can put that connection together myself.
Omsk is not only one of the most famous cities in the world, it's also the name of the state that it's in, as in the geographical state, not the mental one. The common assumption is that both were named after the historic city in England, but this is only true if we're talking about the New York in Lincolnshire. And I know what you're thinking, oh, Lawrence, since when does England have a New York? Well, it doesn't. It has 3. But the famous one in America was named after the Duke of York, who would later become King James II. In 1664, James received a patent to the Dutch colony of New Netherland from his brother and fellow Led Zeppelin fanatic, Charles II. Amid heightened tensions between the British and
fellow Led Zeppelin fanatic. I love these little sly stray shots he's throwing in there.
The Dutch, the former took the colony from the latter. New Netherland became the province of New York. New Amsterdam became New York City. And James never ever visited. Much like the person whose name inspired this.
Nobody ever does. Nobody ever visits.
Pennsylvania, land of the Liberty Bell, Hershey's chocolate, and as it happens, a city that was named after former British Prime Minister William Pitt. But, confusingly, the state itself was named after a similar-sounding politician, William Penn, who, sure enough, never visited Pennsylvania. And as we speak, I've just received this fax from Uncle Toby saying...
Nobody that any of the states are named after ever visited any of the states that were named after them.
You're talking rubbish, you daft sod. Not only did William Penn visit Pennsylvania, he also lived in Pennsylvania. Cretin.
And that might be true of the William Penn who founded it, but the colony wasn't named after him, it was named after his dad. And why was this? Because the colony was gifted to Penn the Younger by Charles II, who was previously indebted to Penn the Elder, who by now had turned into just bones. Today, Pennsylvania, or Penn's Woods for people who don't like Latin, is a place I know better than anybody else because I, spent a week there once.
Rocky. Virginia, of course,
Virginia, the state that gave us the first English colony, the most US presidents, and an unhealthy obsession with the phrase Virginia is for lovers, which quite frankly raises more questions than answers. But long before it was the birthplace of America and aggressively passionate tourism slogans, Virginia was named after one of the most famous British monarchs of all time, Queen Elizabeth I. You see, back in the 1500s, England was itching to get in on the New World action. And since Elizabeth never married or had kids, she was given the charming nickname the Virgin Queen, which, let's be honest, sounds more like an HBO series than a regal title. So when Sir Walter Raleigh, after whom Raleigh, North Carolina is named, organised voyages to the unsuccessful Roanoke colony, he decided to name the whole region Virginia in honour of Elizabeth's marital status, or lack thereof. And in true tradition of British nobility never setting foot in the places named after them, Elizabeth never visited Virginia because, well, she was too busy ruling an empire and dodging assassination attempts. Plus it took 2 months to get there, so ain't no monarch doing that. Thanks for watching, and also for typing, wow, Lawrence mentioned my state, even if I didn't. If videos about Britain's influence on the American map is your thing, here's me talking about American cities that completely outgrew their British namesakes. You'll watch that next. Until the next video, goodbye.
Thoroughly enjoyed that. The way he made it so entertaining. That's what's freaking perfect. But that is all we have for this video. We learned about some U.S. states that were named after British people and places that I knew nothing about. If you enjoyed, don't forget to subscribe, give the video a thumbs up, check out the next one, and I'll see y'all next time.